Welcome to Scaratastic. Today, we're unpacking 5 moving horror stories that'll have you clutching your keys and double-checking your locks. Let's get started. 1. The Midnight Ambush. Picture this, a young couple, fresh out of college, excited about their new life in Raleigh. They're driving a moving truck in the dead of night, thinking they've got it all figured out. Little do they know, they're driving straight into a nightmare. 2 hours from their destination, bam! Flat tire. No big deal, right? Wrong. As they're waiting for help, 4 strangers appear out of nowhere. At first, they seem friendly, offering to change the tire. But something's off. The woman's smile is too wide, too fixed. The big guy behind her? Stone-faced and silent. Red flags everywhere. Our couple tries to play it cool, but these creeps aren't taking no for an answer. They start getting aggressive, demanding to get in the truck. It's like a horror movie come to life. Just when things are looking dire, a cop shows up. But get this, the creepy woman tries to flip the script, claiming our couple stole their truck. Can you believe the nerve? Thankfully, the cop doesn't buy it, and these weirdos scatter into the night like cockroaches when you flip on the kitchen light. Here's the kicker, turns out, this was all a setup. The cops found a strip of nails on the road. These sickos were out there, waiting to prey on unsuspecting travelers. Talk about a welcome wagon from hell. 2. The Hatchet-Wielding Neighbor. Our next tale stars a guy who thought he'd scored a sweet deal on an old, refurbished house. Little did he know, he was in for a roller coaster ride of terror. It starts with your typical nosy neighbor drama. The old guy across the street is giving him the stink eye, spitting insults. Our new homeowner, thinking he's clever, decides to pull a prank. He puts fake blood on the window facing the old man's house. Harmless, right? Oh boy, was he wrong. The next thing he knows, the old neighbor has gone full-on psycho. He busts into the house with a hatchet, screaming about blood and death. Talk about overreacting. But here's where it gets really wild, the old man collapses right there in the living room. Turns out, the old-timer was sick and not quite right in the head. He passes away days later, leaving our prankster with a heap of guilt and a hard lesson learned. Sometimes, what seems like a harmless joke can spiral into something much darker. 3. The Uninvited Guest. Now, let's talk about a guy who moves to a small town for work. Sounds boring, right? Think again. He's living in this tiny cabin in the woods, minding his own business. Then boom! Middle of the night, he hears someone in his house. Panic mode activated. But this isn't just any intruder. It's a local guy named Derek with a seriously messed up backstory. We're talking drugs, death, and a whole lot of crazy. This dude's been breaking into the house, thinking his dead girlfriend is still there. And oh yeah, he's armed with a machete. Because why not, right? Luckily, the neighbors and cops were on it. They bust in and save our guy before things get really ugly. But imagine waking up to find out you've been sleeping in what's basically a horror movie set. 4. The Stalker Roommate. Our 4th story takes us to a college town where a freshman thought she'd found the perfect roommate. At first, everything seemed great. They got along, shared interests, the whole 9 yards. But then things started getting weird. Our freshman noticed her stuff moving around, things going missing, only to reappear in odd places. One night, she wakes up to find her roommate standing over her bed, just watching. Creepy, right? It gets worse. She starts finding pictures of herself sleeping, hidden in her roommate's drawer. Talk about invasion of privacy. The final straw? She comes home early one day to find her roommate wearing her clothes, talking to herself in the mirror, pretending to be her. It's like a scene straight out of a psychological thriller. She hightails it out of there, but not before her ex-roommate tries to lock her in the apartment, screaming that they're meant to be together forever. Yikes. Thankfully, she escapes and gets help, but talk about a roommate from hell. 5. The House That Wasn't Empty. Our last tale is about a family who thought they'd found their dream home. Spacious, affordable, in a nice neighborhood. What could go wrong? Everything, apparently. From day one, weird stuff starts happening. Footsteps in the attic. Doors closing on their own. The kids talking about a friendly old man who visits them at night. Classic haunted house stuff, right? But it's not ghosts they need to worry about. One night, the dad goes to investigate a noise and finds a hidden door in the basement. Behind it? A fully furnished room, with food wrappers, blankets, and worst of all, pictures of their family taken through the windows. Turns out, The previous owner never actually left. He'd been living in the walls, coming out when they were asleep or away. Can you imagine? The family fled that same night, leaving everything behind. The police eventually caught the guy, but the family was never the same. They moved 5 times in the next year, always feeling like someone was watching them. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell if you want more terrifying tales delivered straight to your screen.